just won't take advantage of them because they're trapped in this idea that racism won't let them have the racism. There are no opportunities out there, and that being a part of America in itself is, it makes you a sellout. So which one is real? Which I like that. I've heard that before, Miss Holly Wood. That's so dope. I love that word. We are not a monolith, even though a lot of people like to promote us as if we're a monolith. That's disrespectful, isn't it, Hollywood? To say that all African Americans, they just think a lot. I'm not African American. I'm Black Princess. Is it appropriate for me to contribute to this conversation? Yes, it is. Did I get that right? Which one is it, y'all? Because I want to know. I'm British American. I don't really know if I should be participating in this conversation, but I would like to join in and give my 2 cents, or matter of fact, my £2. Is that all right? I really don't know if I belong over here, but I'd like to add something to this conversation, if you don't mind. Which one is it, y'all? Are we being hindered and restricted from opportunities, or do people in our community just don't want to take the opportunities because they may be intimidated by them? They may not want to be seen as white. They might be uncomfortable being the only Black person in a situation. Is it really? Hey, is it really the fact, y'all, that there are no opportunities, or do Black people feel uncomfortable? It could, but I want to know. It could be both, but I want to know which one is it more. Like, which one is it more? It could be both. Are we being prevented from opportunities, or are we not taking advantage of the opportunities? Hello?
Hello.
What's going on?
I just, again, answering your question. Honestly, I would say all those things are true at the same time. And you asked which one is more.
Yeah.
I can't really say that there is a more, like there would be one that said 51% and the other one said 49. But I think that they trade off from time to time, depending on the people or circumstance and situation at hand. In some cases, just briefly, I come from Mississippi, born and raised. So, with that being said, though I'm born and raised in Mississippi, I have lived a very fortunate and blessed life based off of choosing to step outside of my environment. But what I am aware of is that all of the obstacles that other people speak of, I was presented with. They were there. They have always been there. They're there still right now. However, because of outside influence, positive specifically, that showed me that there was something else to aspire to outside of what I was born into, I don't think that I would have chosen the path that I did, because I see counterparts that follow the quote-unquote typical path of someone who comes from this demographic. So that's why I say it's all those things at the same time, but one or the other rises more to the top depending on the particular people and situation at hand. But that's all I wanted to say. No, don't go nowhere yet, because I gotta ask you this before you go. Okay. Would your reality have been the typical reality of I guess I would say a broken Negro? With the shenanigans? What's going on this morning? Absolutely, because I see that. I see what that life, what the alternative to my choices would have been, because I see and I'm around the people who did choose to allow that to break them, or they're unable to rise above that. Um, and I guess to add to that, it matters about your family, the people you come from. They really do play a influential part in that, because I'll say this: 90% of my family and environment were following the same cycle. It was my father, who was basically the odd man out, who chose to present something different. So that was what allowed me to be open to something different. But there are other people that I know who didn't necessarily have not just a father figure, but a person at all in their orbit like that. But like you said, we live in the age of the internet. So that's now something that bridges the gap in that aspect. Because again, I was born in the 90s, so early 90s at that. There wasn't as much social media um, options as there are now. The information is just so free out there that anyone can access it at this point. But you just have to know where to go look for, or to even know to look for it in the first place.
Right. I appreciate that.
But all right, I'm going back to the comments, and I'm loving the conversations. Oh, and I don't know if Kendra's here, but if she catch the playback, I am proud of the both of you all. I want y'all to keep doing y'all work. Y'all are doing God's work, period, point blank, and everybody can let that resonate wherever it does for them. But y'all have a mission. Y'all have a purpose. And I'm glad that y'all are walking in it versus shying away from it, because I know it's a lot of pressure. And coming out of what you guys came out of, it would be much easier for you guys to just disappear into obscurity and go live a life without eyes on y'all. So I'm grateful and appreciative that you all are finding a way to be comfortable to share your stories and to help other people by being somewhat, no jab or anything, but being a cautionary tale for people to be able to see and learn from. So I appreciate that. Much blessings to you, Kendra, and little baby Jock.
Thank you, thank you. I hope to see you tonight, too.
Yes, I will be in the building.
All right.
That was nice.
See, I'm telling you, boy. I love them educated conversations, and shout out to the South, because y'all try to play us like we dumb. Y'all used to try to play us like we dumb. I remember they used to have, what is the least performing schools in the United States? Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. 50, 49, and 48. Try to play us like we silly because of that. Don't let the accent fool you now. But man, shout out to y'all in the building. Shout out to B Southern for giving me that blessing this morning. You don't always have to be blessed by the pastor. You can be blessed by a stranger. You can be blessed by normal, everyday people who don't have what is often referred to as the anointing. The anointing. Yes. Appreciate that. But I think that this conversation, the reason I want to have this conversation is, one, to promote intellectual engagement without it being, because we ain't doing that, y'all. We ain't about to be on camera screaming at each other and cussing each other out. No, we too grown for that. And secondly, it reinforces the idea that Black people are not all the same. I love that statement that we are not a monolith. We look at the world differently, even though our skin colors may be similar and our upbringings might be similar. We do not have to agree, and we do not have to unify on all fronts to progress and to exist peacefully. But what be Southern, this is what I heard now. We can only hear we can only hear what we want to hear now. This is what I want to hear. Oh, you an ordained minister. Oh, dang, okay. That was up. This is what I heard her say. although racism and oppression exists, one of the largest, if not the largest contributing factor to whether or not just a black person, but whether anybody succeeds in life in whatever way that means to them, is their mindset. If I walk through life and in my mind, I'm exercising the ideas that ain't nothing out here, everything is against me, ain't no jobs out here, ain't no money out here, ain't no opportunities out here, I think that my reality will reflect that. I'm not trying to get spiritual and manifesting and all that crap. But what I'm saying is that your belief system largely determines the actions you will take. So if I'm in my mind thinking that the system is against me and everything I do ain't gonna work, that will mean that it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy because I won't take action. And at the very first sign that I get, and here's another thing that discourage black folks that I hear all the time, is that obstacles. Let me tell you something. You can't go nowhere in life or nowhere on this planet and it won't be obstacles. And I think that sometimes black people say, well, I ain't gonna try because there was an obstacle. And so it should have been easier than that. But because they made it hard for me or they made it challenging for me
Hey,
that
Head
I would like
Harvest.
for it to be, I'm just not gonna do it. Listen, y'all. Listen. If Harriet Tubman and Booker T. Washington and Martin Luther King can jump through their hoops, what make you think you ain't got hoops to jump through? That to me, I like to look at the ancestors, and I'm like, man, the hoops we gotta jump through, y'all done reduced the hoops so much that it would be a disservice to y'all for me not to jump through the hoops. It's too many hurdles out here. Well, Martin Luther King and Malcolm X done knocked down a lot of hurdles. Harriet Tubman locked down a lot of hurdles. You ain't got but a couple of more hurdles to jump through. But you don't want to jump through the hurdles just because they there. That's what I have a problem with. I will never sit up here and say racism don't exist. Oppression don't exist. I'm not going to sit up here and say that. But what I will say and what I will not accept is that you ain't about to say I ain't going to jump through the hoops just because the hoops is there. Oh, I don't feel like jumping through the hoops. So I'm just going to blame the system and not do nothing. I don't want to jump over no hurdles. So I'm going to say, man, I ain't going to try till all the hurdles gone. No, bruh. It ain't over. There will be no point in time where a generation will just be born into a utopia. There will be challenges. There will be obstacles at all times. That's my problem. I know that I just maybe you okay. What would Jesus do? Let me go ahead and let me go. Jesus. Let me go ahead. There are hurdles that are still in our face.
Hey, Crystal.
But I personally think that it would be a disservice to our ancestors who jumped through hoops and jumped over hurdles for us to act like we don't have to do the same. Imagine if Martin Luther King spent all his time talking about the hurdles.
Hey, Cole. Hey, Cole. Jaden, what's up?
It's called being how are you? An activist, which means it requires action. Hey, what's going on?
Hey, Aaron. I just wanted to come on here and say a couple of things. I really wanted to talk about what you were saying earlier, which is about could we be doing more? And I want to touch on what you just said too. Like, what would Jesus do? I was in Atlanta yesterday, and I actually saw like outside of church there were like homeless people all on the steps of the church, and that really made me think like, yes, we could be doing more because there was a time where churches were a sanctuary where we used to come together. We used to protect our people. It was like no matter, their how much they were making or anything. Like we had places where we could come together, discuss things, empower each other, where we could see each other in a positive light. And I do see people doing that on a very small scale, but it's very, very, very small. So I really think that we could be doing more. As far as I feel like racism isn't our biggest problem. I feel like our biggest problem is the effects of racism towards each other. We're so oppressive towards each other, like the colorism, all of that, like the stuff that we just really
Y'all
believe, like our
don't block
thoughts, our minds,
black.
like the negativity that we have
They just
against each other.
joking.
It's really insane. And then apart from that, like what she just said, the churches are a big problem because there was a time where churches used to help build things. Churches used to help build hospitals. Churches used to help build more than just liquor stores. Like liquor stores are always next to churches on purpose. That's actually a thing where you're supposed to go drink the devil out of you. So it's just very interesting how churches are used in a certain way to make money, but none of that money is being dispersed back into the community, which is worshiping it. And it's crazy to me.
Wait, how old are you?
I just turned 20.
Man, y'all generation the future, because we was not talking about this. We was not talking about this at 20, boy. Y'all the future, because when you said that, when you said a lot, and I like to, I don't know if everybody does this, but I think in pictures.
Right.
And on one hand, I like having this discussion because complaining is not necessarily a bad thing, because you need complaints to not let people get away with what they're less than capable of. And I love that you brought up churches, because sometimes churches get a pass automatically just because they're a church. But I think that even churches should be held to a standard like, hey, we're putting money into this church and we want more than new carpet and new roofs and new speaker systems. Exactly. We want to have some of this money go back into the community, because I don't know about y'all, but is the church still a hub for conversation that is beyond the religious text? No. And that's actually like, I find it so insane because I am not particularly a part of the church anymore because of that reason. I love the fact that it brings people together, but I don't like how the fact when they get in there, they just lose all their brain cells. Like people in a church that I was going to, it was evangelistic. They didn't even know that the church was funded by the government, which told me a lot about them. Like you don't know what you're into, which I don't like, when people are into something and they don't know anything about it. And that really made me like, okay, I think I want to learn more about religion. I want to learn about all religions. Now, my best friend is Nation of Islam Muslim. We know about them. We know about Farrakhan. And that's very controversial in of itself. They could be doing more, but because they had a lot more power back in the day than they do now. So it's just very interesting. Like I have Hebrew Israelite friends and we're all going through the same like arguments, and it's just dividing us more. Like it's so interesting because none of these hubs that have all these black people are doing anything. Like really. I never forget, but I gotta this. It was funny when you said that about the liquor stores and churches, because I literally know a street where it's literally a series of churches and liquor stores. I never put that two and two together or know the history behind that, but I remember a comedian. He said that, I can't remember who it was, but he said that a church is basically a concert for old people. And if what you're saying is accurate and a reflection of what other people are experiencing, it seems like church has become more of a place for entertainment rather than a place of change. If I'm correct. If you want some book recommendations about that, I actually have a few. It's one called Alcohol and the Negro, the explosive issues. That's where I learned that. Well, I've been noticed it on my own, and I brought it up in my sociology class, but I found it in that book, like that information, and I was like, wow, like I'm a genius. Okay. Straight up. I'm gonna put it in the comments. No, I appreciate you coming up. Okay. somebody else coming up, y'all. 1 second. God dang, boy, y'all slamming. Why y'all slamming all pastors, bro? That's not fair. Alcohol and the Negro, explosive issues. I gotta check that out. Okay, Tay didn't come. Tay, I tried to let you up. I'm trying to do it again. You know, Instagram having technical difficulties lately. Why y'all slamming pastors? Bro, really, bro? We can't do that, bro. Do y'all think it's fair to put people under umbrella when we don't want to be put under umbrella? Come on, y'all. If we're gonna do that to pastors, then that means we're opening ourselves up to be done the same way. We know that all black people aren't the same, so we can't do that to the pastors, bro. I can't say that I can't say that all pastors are the same. I will say that all car dealerships is the same. You're gonna have to prove me wrong on that one now. I think all car dealerships is the same. I ain't gonna hold you. God dang, Meeks, all of them. Yo, all right, y'all know what's going on, Tay. Hey, what's going on?
Hello?
Yeah.
Hi.
What's going on?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So basically, I just wanted to revisit the conversation about blame. I guess for me, I just feel like blame isn't an isolated thing. So of course, you can kind of acknowledge that someone's fault. You can place blame, acknowledge it, and then make actions like, okay, that fault, but how can I improve my current situation? So I think that's the issue, just placing blame without any follow-up, you know?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. And then another thing I wanted to this conversation is interesting anyway, because obviously from the accent and what I said, you can tell that I'm not African-American, but it's always interesting hearing about the African-American experience. Obviously, I'm not privy to talk about it because I don't know, and I think lived experience trumps anything. But I just find it interesting that some of the same issues that are currently being talked about are also experienced, like here where I'm from in London, amongst the Black community as well. So it's not just an isolated experience that Black Americans, face, but it sounds quite similar to some of the things that we experience here. And another thing I wanted to touch on as well was just about opportunities. Can you take advantage of an opportunity you don't know exists? Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, if you don't know it exists, how can you take advantage of it? And I think sometimes, well, from my experience, there's opportunities that are kind of tailored to and promoted to a specific group that you would never really know about unless you know the right people, if you have the right friends, or you're in the right circles. But other than that, you just wouldn't know, No,
I definitely agree with that. Because there are certain things, certain seats at tables that are they're not available on what do they call it? What's the name? Indeed.
Right.
They're only available because your dad didn't know my dad.
Right.
But what I wasn't asserting that we have all of these options and possibilities that's laying at our feet. I'm just saying that I know some Negroes that won't even pick up trash. You understand what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. That's why I said I'm not one of those people that's like, racism don't exist.
Right.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that I know some Negroes that won't even do the basic stuff that's right in front of them, but are yet complaining about all of this oppression. But I'm like, bro, you won't even do the bare minimum. So how can you ever be ready for these higher responsibilities and opportunities that are going to require more out of you? So I'm like, the hood literally throw trash in their own environment.
Right.
So how can you expect somebody to look at you like, yeah, man, you want to run my company? You can't even run your own self. So that's what I'm saying. Like, in order for you to talk about what's being kept away from you, I mean, honestly, Trap, regardless if somebody's black or white or not, if they have poor character traits, we don't want to be around them. And I can't expect white people to want to be around. You know what I mean? Like, it's not because you're black or white. It's because you're just not a good person. You know what I mean? I can't let you run my financial department when I see you making poor decisions financially in your own life. Hey, man, they're not letting us get the financial jobs. I wonder why.
But what's...
You know what I'm saying?
No, I totally agree. But I guess it's like more so from, like, you know, if you look at things just like sociology, for example, whenever you're kind of like looking into a case or situation, you have to look at it from a historical perspective as well. Why is this person in the situation that they're in? And it's like, along the way, no one really breaks down that chain or that, you know, like that, what's that recurring trend that keeps happening from generation to generation. It just keeps going on. And unfortunately, it is ignorance. But I guess for me, it's just, how can someone change their frame of mind when they don't feel like the internal need to do that? Some people are quite happy in their hell because they don't know it's hell. Do you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
They don't but no.
That's a good point, because even this whole idea of success is very subjective. Because when we say success, right, collectively, you would imagine, like even on social media, when you see success, it's usually some guy in a suit, some guy making millions of dollars, a private jet, you know, the cliche stuff. But what I urge people to do is we need to each develop our own idea of what success means to us. And I think we can get there a lot easier and a lot faster. Because me personally, I could care less about a private jet. I bought a ticket recently for Comfort Plus, and I'm balling.
Yeah.
I'm balling in Comfort Plus.
Right.
Like, I'm good. Like, I don't need a Mercedes, like, because I don't want to invest that much energy and time into a freaking car.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, but in some people's minds, they haven't developed what success means to them.
Right.
And so they're striving for a very, very difficult form of success that is often almost unattainable.
Right.
And so it's not the opportunities, it's what you have identified and decided upon yourself what success means, depending upon what success is often being sold as. I don't need no mansion. What I need a mansion for?
Mm-hmm.
I remember having my own room, and I'm like, we straight. I'm straight. I had my own little TV, everything. So I think that when you define what success, like for some people, success means being able to pick their kids up from school every day. And they maneuver their life. They make enough money to do it. For me, I don't need to be in Beverly Hills. I just want to be in a neighborhood where ain't nobody selling drugs, game banging, and shooting. I don't care if it's you know what I mean? And I want it to be diverse. I want it to be Asian people. I want it to be Indian people. I don't want it to just be black people, because I'm not an advocate for black supremacy. I like Asian people. I like different cultures. That's stupid for me to only want to be around black people. Like, that's so limiting. Like in the military, I remember being thrown in a pool with people from all over the world, and the only thing that mattered was your character and your ability to follow values. And that stuck with me. I'm like, it don't matter. Like, Asian people, Indian people, they feel the same feelings I feel.
Right.
So to separate us through this trivial dynamic of skin complexion is very basic level thinking to me. So I don't want to be around certain black folks, not because they black, but because they do stuff I don't agree with. And if a white person did it, I wouldn't want to be around them.
Me too.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, but some black people have this chip on their shoulder that it's like, oh, they won't hire me because I'm black. No, they won't hire you because you got an attitude. And attitude is bad for business. You can't come up here and cuss people out when you get ready. You have to treat y'all know how it is when you go to a store or a restaurant. One of the main deterrents on whether or not you're going to spend your money is the attitude of the employee. Right. And a lot of black people, I'm not going to say a lot of black people, but some black people have terrible attitudes.
Right. Yeah. But can I ask you something? Like,
he is not lying.
It's so interesting because, that's some of the same things that people say even over here, like in London. There's like the stereotype that, if you go to like a black restaurant, the service is going to be really bad. The waiters are going to have very bad attitudes. If you go into like a predominantly black neighborhood, like in London, it's going to be a lot of crime. It's going to be like, it's just not going to be a good environment. Why is that? Like, where's the crossover? Is it like a black issue? Or is it just like an African American issue? How does it translate to a global context when, it's just not isolated? Why is that? Is that like a black people issue? That we just have attitude?
I ain't no, listen, I'm the first person to pump my own brakes, man. I'm not no sociologist.
Right.
I don't know the answer to that. I can only share my opinion. We have the right to share our opinions. That's not illegal.
Hey,
but
everybody.
In my opinion, I
y'all,
think that
I ain't been in the chat, but I see my mods have been keeping y'all all right.
And also a trauma that is current that won't allow black people to be themselves because they're scared of the consequences of being dismissed from a group of people that they want to belong to.
Right.
What I mean by that is that being black, that often comes along with a very restricted box of what you can and can't do. Otherwise, you're no longer black. You understand? So if I want to be black, I can't play Pokemon. You know, if I want to be black, I can't wear cowboy boots. So certain black people will relinquish their own humanity and their personal interests to remain black. You know how many dudes? There's so many dudes that act tough, but they're really not.
Right.
But they don't want to be They don't want to be exiled from the group that they belong to. Yeah. So on one hand, we want to be black and remain
Go
close
ahead,
to
Ami.
our
Work your
cultural
set,
roots,
Ami.
but at the same time, we want to explore. Like, God dang it, I'm tired of rap music. I'm tired of the like when you think about it, black and music. What do we associate that with? Oh, you got to play the drums, bro. It's 3,000 instruments in the world. Why do I have to always play the drums in order to be black? My God dang it.
Hey, mind your business.
But a lot of people think that black is a monolith, meaning that, you ain't black if you ain't insert stereotype here. You ain't, and the crazy part about it is we do it more to ourselves than other races do it. We actually fulfill the stereotypes ourselves. Oh, you black? Oh, you gotta wear your hair like this. Oh, you got them white boy shoes on. You got them white boy pants on. It's like, what? Bro, I will show up at your event with a Bruce Lee suit on. But we do it to ourselves because we isolate other people. That's the ironic part about it. We say, oh, this Asian, this white, this Indian. But it's really not, bro. You can do what you want to do. Oh, my God. And then we get mad when other people try to... Look, this is another thing, right? It's an insecurity. You ever seen, like, Asians or other people doing so-called black things?
Yeah.
We're mad because they're stepping outside of their box. Because we won't allow ourselves to step outside of our box, so we make a problem. Oh, look at them. They're trying to take our stuff. Hey, don't nothing belong to nobody. I can wear a turban if I want to. I can wear a Chinese, authentic Chinese uniform if I want to. But black people, because we keep ourselves in a box, we get mad when other groups step outside their box and say they're taking our music, they're taking our dance. No music belongs to anybody. It's all a combination of humanity intermingling with each other. But we won't let ourselves mingle because we scared. We love that black card. We feel like if we lose that black card, Lord forbid, we have to go out here and interact with another group of people. Oh my God. Like, oh, you listen to music? It better be hip hop. Even if it is some of the most destructive recommendations entangled in a beat. Music is music.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
There's something you said that just made me want to ask a question. So basically, when it comes to hip-hop music, obviously hip-hop music is now global music. Everybody basically listens to hip-hop. But the interesting thing is, like, where I'm from, like, because, like, obviously here in London, no one's just quote-unquote Black British. Like, everybody's from somewhere. So, if I ask another, like, Black person, oh, like, where are you from? They're not going to say an area in London. They'll be like, oh, I'm from, like, I don't know, I'm from Senegal, I'm from Congo.
Okay, it's like an international.
Exactly. So we don't really rep London like that. We're like, no, like, I'm a Ghanaian who lives in London. Even though I was born and raised here. So one of the interesting things is, like, when I was growing up, our parents don't let us listen to hip-hop music because of that. And even now, like, growing up, it's still kind of shunned. A lot of, like, Black, well, it depends, like, Black, British, African, like, people don't really like hip-hop music because of how derogatory it is. And another, like, thing is, like, around the N-word. Like, a lot of Black people that I've met here in London can't quite understand not just the N-word, but kind of like the derogatory way in which Black Americans interact with each other. Just the terminology that's used, like calling each other like hoes or bitches, or like even calling each other like, oh, like, yo, dog. That sounds really wrong, but obviously I can't do the American accent.
Right.
But calling each other like a dog or something, it's so mind-boggling in a way. It's like really like confusing. Why would you call like your fellow, like your fellow person or just a human being in general, like a dog or a bitch or an N-word? It's like really confusing. And I think from the outside looking in, it's a bit perplexing. Like, why? Why is that? And also the music as well. Like, when I do listen to like hip hop music, because now, like, in the UK, like, Afrobeats is really a thing. So that's kind of like the number one genre at the moment is like Afrobeats. Okay. But when I do listen to hip-hop music, and I actually don't focus on the beat, but more so the lyrics, because the beat is very infectious. But when I actually listen to the lyrics, it's really kind of scary in a way of, like, I'm dancing and, like, singing along to a song that is talking about killing someone or, like, murdering a group of people, or like promoting the use of drugs, or promoting promiscuity. So
now check this out, right? That's really not a problem, because this is the real problem, right? For example, people when Mortal Kombat, you know what Mortal Kombat is?
So when Hey KJ, hey Miss Leo.
When Mortal Kombat first came out,
hey Crystal Mars, I think I said hey already. I welcome you back.
This game is gonna leave, but it doesn't. I played Mortal Kombat on a regular basis, and it did not cause me to become a violent child. The problem is not that you can rap about whatever you want to rap about. You can call people whatever you want to call it. The problem is when people start taking these forms of expression and creating real world consequences.
Right. Hey, Trey Long.
When people start looking at, let's say, for example, the way Black women are represented sometimes in hip hop, when you start thinking that that is justification to treat women in real life in a derogatory, degrading manner, that's when it becomes a problem. It doesn't really matter about the words you use or the things you say, because that can arguably be used as a form of expression. Like, you have books where people say some derogatory things, but it's considered an art form. But When it becomes real world issues, when you got little boys who are acting out these behaviors and little girls acting out these behaviors, then it's an issue. But that's like saying, there's some people who have a problem with profanity, but profanity, I mean, it really doesn't hurt anybody. You understand what I'm saying? What hurts somebody is when you look at people like Sexy Red and Nicki Minaj, and you're like, oh, all black women are like this. And they want to be treated like this. Listen at what they're saying. That's when it's an issue. When you hear guys talking about killing each other and somebody's actually going to kill somebody because of somebody's rap song, then it's a problem. But you don't see me going out here trying to throw spears at nobody because Scorpion doing it on Mortal Kombat. And I play Call of Duty a lot, but I'm not running out here throwing grenades and pulling up on people and trying to shoot them. The act itself and the expression itself can actually be good, because wouldn't you rather somebody play Mortal Kombat to release their anger, and wouldn't you much rather somebody make a rap song about their anger rather than actually going to do these acts in real life? Right. So these mediums are actually, they can actually be a good tool. But the problem is when it starts spilling over into people's actual lives. Reality. Yeah, that's when it's a problem, because you can play fighting games all day and like, man, I feel like that was a good release. Right. But,
and another thing as well, like, I would even argue that, how you made the distinction between, okay, this is a way to just, as a medium to just express frustration, or as a hobby, or to just kind of like vent, as a form of creativity. But the issue is when it spills into reality. And I would even argue that not only does it spill into reality, but it spills into reality on a global scale. Like, even where I'm from, like, there's things like UK drill, and obviously drill, that's an American or a rap genre, but now that's like a UK thing. So many people I know have died from knife crime as a result of that, because in the UK we don't have like Bloods or Crips or any type of gangs, but over the last like 10 years there's a more uprise of the gang using like drill music to kind of like basically, like attack each other on songs and then fight about it, basically. So that's a very big thing now. Or like even the style, like balaclavas, around masks, the Pooh Shiesty mask, that's a thing in London now. So it's not even just an American thing anymore, like it's global. That culture of like making a song and dissing people and having quote unquote ops. Yeah. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So it's like a global thing now. So that's so interesting. And I mean, I guess my last question would just be, what do you think are some of the solutions? Where can we start to kind of like unravel this and move forward? And this is just my opinion. I just want to, because I really despise people who are social media psychologists and doctors. It's like, bro, we're just sharing opinions. You don't really know. Yeah, sorry, just a quick thing. Someone in the comments said we don't have gangs. Burger Bar, Johnson's ain't gangs. But that's not... I'm talking about London. I'm talking about, like, black people in London. So I'm very focused on black. Like, there's only 3% of the population in the UK are black. Most of us are in London. The rest is the UK. The UK is huge. But in terms of black people in London, we don't really have gangs like that. I'm not saying there wasn't crime or nothing like that, but I'm just saying gangs. And the gangs that we do have a very big Americanized influence. It doesn't. It doesn't. That was just her opinion. Like, who, out of all the things we said, let's not... It's okay, bro. It's okay, bro. I'm just saying it's okay, bro. Historically, we didn't have gangs like that in black gangs. There's obviously hoods in London, but I'm talking about black gangs in London. I'm 25 years old, so I'm focusing on black gangs. When I was growing up, there wasn't gangs like that. There's definitely like, what I'm trying to say, there's arguments and stuff of where someone's from, but in terms of a gang and wearing like red bandanas and saying, I'm a blood, Americanized slang, that's kind of like over the last 10 years. So, yeah. It's all real. What I wanted to say in response to your question is, in my opinion, I feel like it's two things. One, I think that it's exposure.
Part of the reason why I gravitated towards R&B and hip hop because literally that's all the music I was exposed to. I didn't have any options, you know what I mean? It was just literally R&B and hip hop, R&B and hip hop, R&B and hip hop, R&B and hip hop over and over again. Secondly, I feel like it's a responsibility of people as a whole to be adamant about rejecting certain music. Like I said, whenever a rapper gets on stage and he begins rapping about things that you would not like to be a reality, you should be like, I'm offended by this. Boo, I'm leaving. Like, you shouldn't just accept it because the beat is nice and it's catchy. We have to look at the fact that this thing can result, and we have to be honest, like, music has been a very powerful influence. Video games, not so much. You haven't really heard about. He played Mortal Kombat,
Crystal.
and he just wanted to cut somebody's head off. Like, you rarely. I don't know if you've ever heard video games as much as people have had a hysteria behind it. It's rare that
Playing
you
it
hear
early in the
video
morning.
games being the source of people wanting to be violent. But music literally has people getting their hair cut, dyed, face tattooed, and guns because this dude is rapping about it. Same thing on the female side. You see a lot of women exposing themselves in ways that they may not have exposed themselves had it not been celebrated on a platform that they watch all the time or encouraged in a song that they heard. So I think that music, it historically has been shown to be a very powerful tool for influence. And even though it is a tool of influence, I think that it's a personal responsibility on the adults' behalf because the response of adults in your community can heavily impact the youth.
Right.
You know, because the youth want to belong.
Right.
And so, you know what I mean? So, but I know you're not going to be, I don't think you'll be able to stop everybody.
Right.
But I do think that our response to it, I literally just said that I know it's possible. I think some people would be so eager to disagree, but I literally said that it's possible that video games affect people, but I said you largely don't hear about it, and it's not as much of an influence as music. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Like, these rappers are literally creating copies of themselves.
Right.
And even with the women, like, you don't see, you see so many Cardi B, sexy red copies walking around.
Right.
The music, you can't, and if you can prove it. But me personally, from what I've seen, video games are not even in the realm of the influence music has.
Right.
All right. I'm downplaying. Let's share. Please give us, if I'm downplaying it, Melanie, it's just maybe because I'm not as educated. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, man. But can you name? I guarantee I can name more acts of gun violence than you can acts of violence. I can name more acts of violence attributed to music than you can attribute it to video games. I'm not saying that video games don't have an impact or influence. I'm just saying that music is heavily more influential than video games as it pertains to people actually going out and enacting those behaviors in reality. Sure, Nadia, that's fine. I appreciate you, Trap, coming up. It would be great to have you tonight at 8, I believe 8 or 9. I'm just gonna go over who I was. Instagram. No, YouTube.
Okay. I'm definitely a subscriber, and I will definitely be there on time.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you, Aaron. Have a lovely day.
You too.
Bye.
Your disagreements are definitely welcome, Melanie Queen. Okay. Tay, I'm gonna try to put you up here because you haven't been up here yet. What's going on, babe? What's going on? This is gonna be my last one. If it cut off, y'all, I'll see y'all tonight at 8 or 9. I'll schedule the preview on YouTube. It'll probably be 9 because it's almost 12 now.
So 9 o'clock tonight, y'all, on his YouTube channel at the Aaron Dixon. Let me drop it in the chat so y'all can subscribe to Aaron's channel.
All disagreements are welcome.
Hang on. I'm trying to get I'm on my tablet.
Yeah,
It's kind
I'll
of
let you
ghetto.
back up, and then if it cuts off, guys, that'll just be the last one. I'll see y'all tonight.
So I just wanted to add perspective, just something that I think about personally in my own research. So I don't know how many people are familiar with Bruce Lipton, but he's a biologist. He's also an author who's published a lot of books about, basically the connection between biology or the human makeup with how we respond or react in expression in reality. And more so how our quote unquote DNA is impacted by our environment. So it's not a get out of jail free card or anything like that. It's just something to put into perspective. There was a study done where they basically put 2 dishes of water and set it at a temperature to where it would freeze or would crystallize to make snowflakes. But during that process, they of course had those 2 dishes separated, and one was exposed to affirmations, positive energy, just no negative energy was allowed within that environment, and it was enclosed. And on the opposite end, the other dish was spoken to negatively, played heavy metal music, played like gangsta hip hop music, and was exposed to harsh environments. And so snowflakes did form, or the water did crystallize. But what they noticed was that the water that was in a positive environment made beautiful snowflakes. And they were all different, but they were all beautiful, like they were all perfectly made. Whereas the other dish that was exposed to the negative environment, it created snowflakes, but they were jagged and they were like pointy, like they stuck up. They were not beautiful snowflakes at all. And some of them clumped together. It wasn't, it was in complete opposition to the positive result from the positive environment. So all that to be said, that your environment being exposed, as you said, the exposure of certain elements in a concentrated form on a consistent or constant basis definitely can cause some negative impact or positive impact, depending on which one you have the most exposure to, on your DNA. And not saying it completely destroys it, but that therefore makes an impact on your sociology and your mind, and therefore the decisions you make, and therefore the things you're drawn to and you attract to yourself as well. So that's just a layer to take into account at the overall conditioning that's been happening for the last 25 plus years to the Black community specifically, and then what's spread out now globally. As the young lady stated, there's also the effect happening over there in London, and it's a global thing now that's transcended. And as you said, it's because of the music, because the music is global. It has a reach. So the consistent, concentrated, like you said, saturation of what we're being fed, and it's garbage for the most part, it's not a surprise that what's also come from a product of us is garbage as well. And so in order to combat that, that's why I said earlier,
mind your business. This is what happens when people don't read.
We can talk about a huge global plan, some big drawn out production, but it starts with where you are. It starts with
y'all can't
what
get
you
my butt in the
consume.
comments
So
today.
it's great if we sit and have these talks and we express ourselves in this way. But if we personally, after this live ends, don't make changes for ourselves and the people that we affect, then we're just talking. Or in the words of my London sister, we just chatting.
Nah, straight up. I'm glad you brought that point. I'm glad you brought all of that home 360, because I think that approach is the most effective, is because it makes it realistic, practical, and digestible. When you're telling people to take on a global front, that is terribly overwhelming, discouraging, and you will likely not get any participation. But when you tell people, hey, don't worry about what's going on out here so much. If each and every one of us could just hold down ourselves and our home, that's it. That behavior will echo eventually into a global change. And that's why I don't respect a lot of leaders who are telling people to take on a global international battle, when all we really have to do is fight the battle within ourselves and assist those in our immediate environment, and that behavior pattern will create global change by everybody focusing on individual efforts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it, honestly, I know, and I'm going to say this to the people because I have been guilty of this at one point in time. It feels great to get these points off, and it makes you feel, you get a bit of an endorphin release from being able to find like-minded people that feel the same way, and we're going to carry the same torch. But we don't need to let it fall flat. It's at a point we're all talking about what we see that's wrong and that's happening, and we see that right here in our front yard or backyard or whatever you may be standing at. You see that right around you, and when you make a choice to do something about what's right around you, you're going to get pushback just like you would get pushback trying to do something big and global.
Yeah, straight up.
So the fight you looking for, you can still get that same fight right at home. So just boot up, strap up. Don't mean no guns and no pop-outs, but strap up with your mind. Strap up with, solution. Be solution-based. We understand the problem. Now it's time to be solution-based. Nobody that wants to hear about, okay, let's just talk about the problem. We got that. Let's talk about what we can do to fix it. And we can just do that starting with ourselves. And that's just real simple. Change what you ingest. I know we love the shade room and we love, Zeus and all of that, but start to go on a diet for your spirit and your mind about what you ingesting from media. Just go on a little diet. Start small. You ain't got to overcommit yourself, but you just got to start somewhere. You don't got to have the whole path figured out. You just got to start with the first step and then take another.
Okay, it's ended, y'all. All right, y'all. I'm gonna head back to the lack. It was nice spending this time with y'all this morning. But y'all already know the drill. I gotta get back to editing. Gotta get back to my work and do my thing. Damn, Aaron, he came back. Hold on. He came back, y'all. Hang on.
I said that was gonna be my last one, but I'm over here like this gonna get good.
You know you did.
I'm over here like it get good. This my last one for real. Dang, I wanted her to finish her point. That damn Instagram tripping, man. I was like, this joker get good. This my last one for real, man, because it about to be 1 o'clock, best ride. I see y'all tonight.
Did I turn off the mic, y'all?
This my last one for real, and we go break for lunch. I see y'all tonight, man. She was going in. But whoever said it, Miss Hollywood, I didn't understand what you meant. I didn't understand what in the world you was saying. Oh yeah, shout out to y'all on the West Coast. Y'all like it early. Okay, be Southern. Yeah, I think we got where you was going. The main takeaway for me was to stop trying to go out here and take on these international battles when the only thing I really have to do is hold down myself, make sure I'm right in myself, and those around me are good and being held accountable. And if we apply and echo that behavior, it will inevitably become an international fight without having to feel like you got to get on an international stage to do so. That's why I don't pay attention to these Hotep Negroes. I'm like, go sit down somewhere. But I got you. I got you. If it cut off, this is the last one for real, y'all. It's the last one for real.
Okay, well, can y'all hear me?
Yeah, you good.
Okay, so basically what I wanted to say is I have 2 points. My first point is I want to go back to development and when we're learning. And I want to make it apparent that it is systematic with certain things because it is true that the the schools are based on the income of the neighborhoods or the people in those homes. So if you have a low income neighborhood, you automatically have a low income school, which is why we see suburban schools that are better than low income schools. And then when you have things like your parent can go to jail if they like use someone else's address to get you into school, those become like, segregation in a way to keep those type of people out of schools where they could be learning more, having better resources, etc. And I also want to add my own perspective on violence because I think it's very interesting and it's just a thought. You were serving in the military. So I think it's very interesting how we use certain terminologies that are from the military, like squad. We use
There we go. I want y'all to see the comments.
from the military in certain gangs. We use like certain you know how there's different like sections, it's different levels to it. You have different wars as well, guerrilla warfare, turf warfare, which is what I think we're having, turf warfare.
Oh, Crystal.
And it mimics in a
Army.
way the
All
U.S.
right,
Army,
BB.
in my opinion.
Bam, bam, bam.
I don't know where they're getting that from, but I would say Call of Duty. Like, I really think it's coming from, like, the influences and, like, how we hype up war. And I just think it's very, like, interesting in a way, even how we run things, like, when it comes to gangs. And usually how they started off as some militant protection group, if you look into that. Like, the Black Panthers, they were hanging with a lot of questionable people because they started as like militant protecting groups who went on and the little ones, the young ones usually went on rogue. So it's just interesting. And those were like my 2 points in regards to that. And also in regards to what B Southern was saying, what I plan on doing instead of just looking at all the problems is I am going to open a homeschool center, and I want to be able to teach people not just this, but architecture, literature, finances, and also trade skills. Because my dad, something that I appreciated about him is he knew how to survive, even if he didn't have any money in pocket. We never went without our lights on because he knew how to cut them on with his hands. So it's stuff like that that I really appreciate, is knowing how to do stuff instead of depending on others, because that takes a lot of money anyways. It takes money to get your car in the shop and get an oil change instead of just knowing how to do it yourself. It takes money to hire a person to come put your solar panel on your roof instead of just knowing how to do it yourself. So I'm thinking of stuff like that.
That was up. That was up. I like the lines. Dang, echo on. Echo on.
I don't hear no echo.
Oh, okay.
Somebody text
I like
me, y'all.
the attitude of taking action, which points back to my original statement why Booker T. Washington's story made
That's
him
perfect.
an immediate hero in my mind. When he decided to build his own school when one was not present for him. So I agree that certain systematic oppressions and forms of racism exist, but like B. Southern said, once a problem has been identified, continuing to identify the problem will get you nowhere. We must become solution oriented, because I think too many hotep hustlers are entertaining and commercializing the problem and presenting us different ways to talk about the problem, but never offering us any type of solution in order to remove the problem or mitigate the problem in the first place. And I feel like we have a history, a long history of people who, when they were met with obstacles and problems, they immediately took action and implemented some type of a solution. So my thing is if the school system is a problem, unfortunately, it may not be easy, but you may have to become the school when the school that is afforded to you is not working to the capacity that you want it to. When and honestly, as far as changing oil, I get on YouTube, dude. I get on YouTube and learn how to change oil. It's a lot of tools. My main point, my whole point of even starting this conversation is that I feel like we have a lot of, even though we do have obstacles, we have a lot of means to overcome those obstacles that we are either ignoring or just simply refusing to use. I agree with that. I tell people that myself, because like a lot of people in my age group, we're 20, they tell me they're like, we're young, we're not trying to change, or we're not trying to do that. We don't learn that. Like, nobody taught us that. Then they bring up how someone probably taught my dad, but I'm like, you have YouTube, and YouTube University teaches us a lot of things. And I just find it like, if you have the motivation, you will do it. And most people, well, I'm not going to say most people, but there are some people who I just feel like have become complacent in just having things done for them, having things at their fingertips, and they don't really think about the long-term costs or the long-term effects of that. But as for building your own school, I feel like we understand at this point, because I see a lot of people actually pulling their kids out of school, homeschooling, opening up their own homeschool centers. I see a lot of people who notice the problem, and especially because we are also noticing that males are not they're not treated the same in the classroom how females would be treated, due to just basic misconceptions or assumptions about the two genders. So it's a lot of people that are just opting to take them out. And then, like what you said about Juice World earlier, too, inside those schools is a lot of problematic stuff, too, because, like I said, Juice World, he was taking Xans in middle school because they diagnosed him with ADHD. And it's stuff like that. We know that that's a problem in our community and with boys. So it's very
ironic because I feel like that's why Juice WRLD went on to have an addiction in the first place. Like, no child should be taking Xanax, but you know, if you are ADHD or whatever, that is what you are prescribed, even if they did not do their due diligence. Because how do you see that in like a 30-minute doctor visit, 40-minute doctor visit? So I do think it's like just problems that need to be fixed, even like just little things that need to be sewn up.
Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not using Juice WRLD's circumstances to hold him accountable because I have a lot of leniency when it comes to younger people. But what I refuse to do is to let anybody glamorize this man's pain and suffering as if it's something to model themselves after. You're not about to celebrate something that is actually a display of depression and trauma and mental debilitation. That's my issue with it. I'm not saying, Juice WRLD, you're the reason why people are doing this and that. What I am saying is that you're not about to sit up here and make Juice WRLD's pain into a form of profit. And you're not about to celebrate it. You're not about to glamorize it, because you will be opening the door for a series and a cycle of other boys who don't understand the detriment of taking certain drugs.
Exactly. And also, I want to know, like, what's your opinion on, like, my opinion about, like, the commonalities with, like, war, turf war, and our gang violence?
Like I said, I'm not no sociologist and nothing like that, but just to give my opinion, and I also want to speak to what B. Southern said concerning Bruce Lipton, because even somebody as great as Albert Einstein is subject to be proven wrong. That's the beauty about science. So although that experiment was conducted, I would have to look at alternative narratives to determine whether or not this was an isolated experiment or if it can be repeated over and over again. One of the things that I look to as it pertains to environment, I'm not saying that environment is not a major factor, but I often want to understand, how can two people grow up in an identical household from the same parents, yet go on to lead two completely different lives? Even I heard a psychologist say that it's not the trauma that actually affects us, but it's actually our interpretation and response to the trauma that determines whether or not somebody becomes an advocate or an addict. So the environment, to me, it plays a factor, because like I can use myself as an example. I played a lot of video games, but there's not one single record in my school history or in my adult criminal history of me being violent. I played Call of Duty from 2009 up until this day, and I have no instances of gun violence, because I have a keen sense of separation between this video game and the real world consequences if I were to enact this behavior. So even though people feel like these video games contribute, I will say that they do. But I think that ultimately it comes down to people's perception of what's happening to them and what's being done to them.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I will say that in regards to just that, a lot of these people, they don't start out violent, though. I think they start off wanting to protect something. They start off wanting to feel involved. It's a group. It's group thinking, and they feel like they're defending something. And that's where I start to make the commonalities with warfare, because these people feel like they're defending something, they're trying to protect something, and then when weapons become involved, now they're defending something with weapons. And I don't know if games have anything to do with that, but I do know warfare is in real life, and we have movies, we have a lot of stuff that people would aspire to just want that mentality. Just like in Japan, the mentality of the samurai led them to want to conquer everything in World War II. It was the mentality, even though they weren't not around anymore. And it's that it could really affect a group and a nation of people. But I'm going to go back to the comments.
Before you go, I wanted to speak to that point real quick. I am not saying that video games and other dynamics don't have an effect. What I am saying is that they are not the root cause of people taking on certain actions. Just like music, it's an effect, but I don't think it's the root cause, because I've listened to rap music, but I have not spent one day in prison. I have not sold a gram of drugs or anything like that. I'm just saying that these things help exacerbate an underlying issue. That's what I'm saying. If somebody goes out and shoots somebody, it wasn't because of Call of Duty. Call of Duty helped assist in the underlying issue, but it is not the root cause of the issue. Neither is rap music. Because if that was the case, everybody would be out here shooting. Everybody be in jail. Everybody be on drugs. Even when you point to the hood itself, that is saturated with these activities in real life, there's people who grow up in the hood, born and raised, and they don't want nothing to do with it.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go back to the comments. But I'm really enjoying this conversation. And everybody that's come up, like, I'm really enjoying y'all takes. And I can't wait to hear who else comes up before it shuts off again.
I know, right? We got like 45 minutes before it shuts off again. But I'm glad she came up, and I'm glad she is representing the mentality of the youth, because I think that sometimes the older generation likes to put the youth underneath an umbrella as if they are ignorant and that they don't know no better and that they're all out of control. I think that at one point every generation was considered to be out of control by the younger generation. I think it's just a cycle. The older people think they're the wisest and know the best, and the younger people are often considered to be the worst generation. Hold on, y'all. I'm sure when I was born, we was the worst generation, and the generation before me, when they were born, they were the worst generation, and it just continues to happen. But I do like how certain people who were born into the internet, thank you, take advantage of it to expand their understanding and awareness. Can y'all see my comment? It said something like my comment was too long. To their neighborhoods or their city or their community, like many of us were. Because many of us, with whatever what I was saying is, Black, you're one of the pioneers, like Fundi, Max. Any external ideas, but it's almost impossible to contain the youth of today because they can easily challenge almost everything you say. Hold on. I was trying to say in the comments, it's all love and respect over here, Black, because you're one of the pioneers in this nature boy sector. You, the T, Fundi Fee, Max, Stenson has the soup, and many others that I haven't discovered yet. But Max is the person who inspired me to start my YouTube channel. So, you guys are definitely appreciated by the Medaya movement. Seriously, big up yourself, Black. Big up yourself. We in the building. Big up yourself. Chapter 9, verse 3. I subscribed. Thank you so much, Crystal, for dropping that in the chat. God wants me to do that. He didn't. According to. Oh, let me turn this back up. My bad. That's not what God said. They in the church looking up the pastor. Like, Pastor, that is not what that's not what Mark 11:13 say. In the New England version translation, I'm reading from. You have a theory, Hollywood? Let's go. Because I'm definitely using that. In order to fix the whole, you must fix the one. Yeah, I want to hear your theory on generational trauma. when it comes to drugs and our young people. Let's go. Shout out to everybody who's been engaged thus far. I love quality over quantity. I definitely love having 20 people in the room, 20 interesting people in the room, 20 intelligent people in the room, than to have 500 idiots any day. Once again, going live tonight, probably at 9 o'clock. Hope to see you guys there. I'll be trying to talk as much about my life prior to carbonation as possible. Childhood, teenage years, military, college, all of that stuff like that.
Thank you.
Eating oatmeal. Yeah, I got some oatmeal too. I got some apple cinnamon in there. I typically like to start my day off with some cereal. I'm on my last box, and it's one of those small boxes, so I probably get like 2 bowls out of it. Dang, it seemed like back in the day, the cereal box, you get like 13 bowls out of that joke. Nowadays, you can't get but 2. You're like, dang, what happened to cereal? You can just pour and pour and pour. You used to just be able to just pour. It's always cereal in the box. Nowadays, it's say 2 servings. Dang. It's like this thing just never stops pouring. You get 2 bowls out of today's cereal box, but hey. Have I considered making my own cereal? No. I have not. I eat Cascadian Farms, and I don't know what this other brand's. I'm telling you, one sister, them natural cereals be like, you hear that joker hit the bowl, you better not pour too fast, because you're going to pour the whole box. Dang. So you have to pour the little bowls to get to come back to the box. Yup, that joker got the 2 servers in there, homie. Do I eat grits? Yeah, I eat them corn grits, though. Them yellow grits. It's called polenta. That junk good. Salt, black pepper, and vegan butter. All right, let's get this theory going on the generational trauma of drug abuse and the youth.
Okay, I just want to make sure you can hear me okay, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so we know that everything is passed down between mother and child, right?
I don't know about everything.
Well, I'm talking about like substances. When you are a woman and you're
pregnant. Yeah. I got you. Okay, yeah.
So, okay. So let's just start with the 40s and the 50s. The drug of choice was alcohol primarily, right?
I think so, because that was shortly after Prohibition.
Okay, so the mothers are essentially feeding alcohol to the children. So now that's what's embedded in the children. Now those children that came from those mothers already have alcohol in the system. Now we go to the 60s. The 60s was big on heroin, correct?
I don't know. I ain't gonna flex. I don't know. I really don't. I don't know when drugs came out. I really don't.
Okay, so when we get into the 60s, we start thinking about heroin. So now we've already got these adults now that have the alcohol, embedded in their system, in the DNA. And so now we're adding heroin to it. So now we're producing another generation of people whom are becoming parents who are now with alcohol and heroin. We get to the 70s. Marijuana, I'm not even going to touch on, because marijuana in its purest form, not even a big deal. But we get to things like cocaine, freebasing it, all of that stuff. So now you've added on 3 drugs. You've got alcohol, you've got the heroin, and now we're bringing in the cocaine. We get to the 80s, and we compound now crack onto that. And so now you're producing the children from the 80s into the 90s who are now alcohol, heroin, cocaine and crack cocaine, and we produced the children of the 90s. Okay. And then the children of the 90s, they're adding in stuff like ecstasy and what other popular, I know, in MDMA for sure. And so, like, you've got these children through the generations who are just compounding all of these different drugs into the system of, of the drugs that have been before them. And now we're looking at our youth today, and we're trying to figure out why they like lick Tide Pods. Like,
I never thought to chain those events together, but I do need to look at, I know there is an effect, but I want to know how much of an effect occurs on a developing fetus from that point up until adulthood, because that I love that you chain that together, because it does seem like every era is accompanied by some type of drug.
It is. And any woman who's been pregnant in here, they can tell you. I've got 3 children of my own, and the very first time that I got pregnant, Kendra and I were actually pregnant at the same time with our first, with you guys first, and like I've been talking to both of you on YouTube, but I was talking to you the other day. I'm these YouTube screens. That's on YouTube.
Okay, yeah, okay. Got it.
But so, like, for me, it was a very interesting time. I have a BA in psychology. Okay. And like what made me go into psychology was actually cereals. But being a Black woman and, on my own journey and everything, I ended up coming across NB on Facebook, and of course followed him to YouTube, and was introduced to all of you guys. And so, like, then cults became my thing.
Wait, hold on.
But
because I know I can feel this about to get good. Hold on. If it cut off, y'all, it's gonna be the last one, and I'll see y'all tonight, because I already know this about to be good. Go ahead.
But no, I segued into that just simply to put this down. I won't go all into and derail your live stream. I was just like,
go ahead. Don't worry about derailing me. I can go live again. I ain't in carbonation no more. Hey,
I was just gonna say that to say this, because with the mothers there not being exposed to, like, prenatal care and everything, any woman in here who's had a child, they will tell you, when they go to the doctor, the very first thing the doctor is going to tell you is stop putting substances in and on your body. You're not even supposed to put too heavily fragranted, like, lotions on your body, because these things soak into your skin. You're not supposed to go and get the false nails and everything on your nails, because that can go into your bloodstream. You're swapping that poison into yourself and ergo into your child. And so, like, I have looked at that over the years, and I'm like, I mean, if we can't do something like color our hair as a woman who is growing another human being in our body, like, what is it doing when we're putting these illicit drugs into our system to the generations behind us? Because a woman is born with every egg that she is going to ever have. She's born with it. So essentially, when you were formed in your mother's womb as a woman, your mother carried her grandchildren, and so on and so forth, all the way back up.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah.
So, of course, when you're putting things like this in your body, the things that were put into your mother's body is now coming through you, and then you're turning around and you're carrying that. So, like I said, 40s and 50s, those grandmothers were carrying the alcohol into their wombs, and then those women were turning around and carrying the heroin, and so on and so forth. Because we look at our children. We look at our children and we're like, dummy,
Like it's a thing that you put in the washing machine. It's detergent. Like, why would you do that? And knowing you have been in the military as well, like, you know, I've got multiple degrees, but in the military, they keep everything at an 8th grade level. It's KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. Keep it simple, stupid. Yeah. Straight up. Because it's 8th grade level. Nothing is beyond the 8th grade level. That's it. But you have these children, and you're like, excuse me for all the sensitive ears, but I'm gonna have to say it. You're just like, damn. Like, what would make you think that that would be an okay thing to do? But I mean, you got to stop and look at what we've done to them, just coming down from the generational trauma that's in the DNA.
Dang, this sounds like a documentary called Born High.
Is that real, or you just?
That's what it sounds like I'm listening to. It sounds like I just turned it on. This documentary called Born High. Like, God dang. Like, I didn't, like, so first of all, you made me think of, that's why I love talking to y'all, because there's so many pieces that I do not consider that I need. I forgot that there was women watching Carbonation while they were pregnant.
Oh, yeah.
Screaming at the phone like, yo, you do not need to be in this type of position while you're having a baby, yo. I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I never thought about that. That was a possibility on the other side of the phone. And secondly, I was not are you saying that the absorption becomes heightened when you become pregnant? That's why they tell you not to do these things?
Absolutely, because I mean,
I didn't know that.
Yes, with you know, with the sac that the child is in. I mean, everything that you eat. That's why when a woman becomes with child, when she's pregnant, the need to eat is always there. She's always freaking hungry because she's literally eating for 2. In my case, I was always eating for 3 because when I have a baby, I really multiply. I pop them out 2 at a time. So. Like, yeah, I know. That's one of the generational things in my family. Multiples run on both sides of my families, and then my husband, he comes from multiples too. So we was having a whole bunch of kids regardless.
Gotcha.
Like, but yeah, so I mean, you're absorbing all the minerals and everything that not only you need, but that your baby needs, because it's a lot of energy and everything that goes into like that baby's forming in your womb. And so yeah, so you can't. They tell you don't go and color your hair because, of course, I mean, your hair is attached to your scalp, which is just a very thin layer of skin, but it's got all the different veins and whatnot in there, so that can seep straight into your bloodstream. They tell you don't go into the nail salon because not only are you inhaling those things, but, I mean, if you get nicked, well, now that poison that you're putting on the nails is now going into the bloodstream. Like, I mean, they tell you, don't do this and don't do that. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm not doing, but I have a whole nother theory on that too, about like natural birth. But, you know, any way you get your baby into this world, ladies, that's the right way. I particularly don't understand. I won't say I don't believe in it. I'll just say I don't understand. If they give you the guidelines of not doing all of these things while you're pregnant, why is it do they want to shoot you up with a whole bunch of drugs at the time that you're bringing your baby into the world, so your baby comes into the world hot? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. But I digress off that. That's just my thoughts. But yeah, that's my theory on generational trauma and our young people when it comes to the drugs.
How do we explain the children of parents who were on drugs who go on to never do drugs?
That's completely, you know, a whole will thing. This whole thing that you're laying out, this prompt, is
my whole thing is, I've been saying the whole time, is two things can be the same, or excuse me, two things can be right at the same time. So just because you had parents, and even parents for generations above you, that were drug addicts, you don't have to go that way, because that's not the path that you chose. I mean, but then somebody who has had parents before them that are drug addicts that do choose that life, I mean, I can understand that as well, because it's already embedded in there. It's just whatever path that you choose. Two things.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I thought you were done. No, I wanted to ask, because that concept is more complex to me than I think we give it credit for. Because if I'm born with a predisposition to do drugs, and I do the drugs, how can I call that a choice? Where's choice? Where does predisposition end and choice begin? You know what I mean?
I hear you.
If a guy, let's say a male, was born in an atmosphere where all he seen was his father beating his mother, if he goes on and beats women, was that a predisposition or was that a choice? Like, how do we separate those, and where does the line begin and end? Or should everything really be examined on a case-by-case basis, even though it's more difficult to do?
No, I think that everything should be examined on a case-by-case basis. That's why I say, to fix the whole, you have to fix the one. Because, I mean, let me take what you just said and flip it back to you in a completely different scenario, where you're saying, like, how I said, no, well, Black people aren't a monolith, because we all are very different. So, we can't sit up and say, okay, like, because I'm a Black woman, I'm going to use this for an example. The Black woman she's loud and she's angry. Well, I'm not loud, and, I don't present angry, so should I apologize for this stereotype of the Black woman because that's what they think that we are? But you're saying, okay, well, like, Black people in the hood, they won't even pick up the trash. And okay, well, let's take that example and flip that back to you, where you're saying, okay, where's the line between predisposition and choice? I'm going to take that and flip it back to you. Where's the line with these people in this situation? They don't know anything other than that situation. I mean, for you seeing people that live in the ghetto, in the hood, for generation, they don't know anything except for that. Yes, there are resources out here for them, but if they don't have anybody around them that can point to that, all they know is this.
So we're saying are they wrong? So then in that instance, would it be safe to say that you're saying that they're not choosing that?
I don't think that it's not I don't really think that there's in certain situations that there's a choice not to choose, is what I'm saying. If you don't know that there's anything out there, how can you make a choice to be better?
Okay, and I want to speak to that, because I often wondered the same thing. But here's a very interesting point. So have you ever heard of FLDS?
Yes. I told you, girl, my thing.
Okay, got you. So have you seen Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey?
Huh?
Okay, so you know that a lot of those girls were born and raised to believe everything about that world. No external influence whatsoever. Yet, yes, what fascinates me, and I want to know, what is it? I am absolutely fascinated with this. What is it that made them feel like something was wrong, even though they were only taught that it was right? What is that thing? I mean, like,
I can only, of course I can't, I've never been in that situation, so I can't really attest to it. But I mean, my best guess would be just something, that internal light, because you're right. And that situation with them, I know of a couple of women who, like, that's all that they've known. Their family, as far back as they can count, have always been a member of the FLDS. And I mean, to the point where I know some of the women who have ended up leaving and then turning around and bringing their own mothers out of the situation. If mother was saying, no, that this is the right way, then I mean, like, how could we know anything else? Because mother is first teacher. But there was something within, that fire in their own bellies that said, lady, I'm not about to marry my cousin and, have a husband that's not here, and he's got 14 other families. I'm, on government assistance, and, I got to try to work this job, but I don't ever have any money because it goes to him, and I only see him when he comes over here to either impregnate me or whoop on my head. Like, there's something in some of them, because not all of them are like that. Some of them are taught from mother, and they just go along with the program. But like I said, the only thing I can say is within some people, there is a fire that's in their belly that says, okay, something about this is not right. And so I'm going to find out what is on the exterior of this bubble.
So I'm trying to, and one sister said that they likely had exposure to books, but if you look at the FLDS, they didn't. That was a very isolated environment. They weren't allowed to read books and watch TV. There was no external influence. It was a completely domineering environment. So,
and the TV that they do watch is actually very sanitized. It's with only their teachings. It's propaganda that they make up, and then they disseminate amongst themselves. And even with the books with the real world books, before they disseminate that information, they go in and they'll redact things. So, I mean, they could get Aaron's book, but, I mean, before they disseminated it, they would go in and blackline things or even rip out pages. That is a very insulated bubble.
Yeah, and I'm trying to, and a lot of people, y'all said it in the chat, you even mentioned it as the fire in your belly, people saying intuition. But what I'm trying to get, guys, is what is it? Like, even though we're naming it, do we really have can we really explain it? Like, what is that? Like, because people say, and this is my argument with the environment, because people say, how can you do better when that's all they knew? But when I heard about the story of FLDS, those women didn't know nothing other than FLDS, but it was something in them, which people refer to as intuition and fire and things like that. But where does that come from?
I think that, again, I'm just to put something on it.
Sorry, y'all.
Because it's really something that's not quantifiable. We can label it whatever we want to. That's intuition, that's God, that's conscious, that's internal fire. You can name it whatever you want to, but it's truly not quantifiable. Like God, like nature, no. Because in all situations, it's completely different. I mean, and that just goes back to taking that and what I was saying earlier, going back to your prompt, we're not a monolith. No, we're all not going to be the same. We're not going to come out the same, even in the same situations, because there are plenty of people who are in the hood and live next door to somebody, and they grew up together and they took separate paths. But they were both in the same situation. I don't have an answer for you. I just look at it and can see, hey, that, this is, I threw out in the chat earlier, nature and nurture. Like when I said, when you say that, then we can actually introduce nature and nurture.
And I need to look into that more, because I know that that's an age-old argument that people don't even agree upon to this day, even in the psychology realm.
Yeah, well, I mean, because then when you when you want to argue that point philosophically, you can say that, patient X, or person one over here, they were raised in a great environment, and they had great parents. So their nurture and their nature, their nurture was beautiful. It was great to put them on a path to be a great person. But I heard you say the other day, no, because that's where, have y'all seen The Omen, Damien? Because that just who they are by nature. Like, these people were born this way. It doesn't matter, what kind of upbringing you had or what kind of neighborhood you were in. Like, you're born just an evil being.
So,
and they
okay,
do exist.
And okay, and speaking of that, right? Because I'm also fascinated with this, because like Melanie Queen said, nature versus nurture is always a debate. But I'm more on the side that nature trumps nurture. Like, you are who you are. So, but I want to know, if you are who you are, where does that come from, and where is that decided? When and where is that decided?
Brother, you're going to have to take that up with your God.
I just want to see somebody try, because I want to remain open. I want to see somebody try. I want somebody to attempt to try to identify things like intuition and things like nature and our personality and who we were designed to see, because I cannot get off of FLDS, because they had one of the most controlling environments possible. And something in those girls said, this is wrong. But what in the world told you that? Where did you get that from? When everything around you is telling you what's right. What was it in you that said that this is wrong, and what are you basing it on, if we're going to assume that somebody's ideology is totally dependent upon their environment? Because if that was the case, none of those girls should have had a possibility to counter that. So where does that possibility freaking come from if it's not the environment? Where is that coming from? I want to know. And I'm not going to Costa Rica to find out this time. I'm not going to Belize to find out this time. But I still want to know.
I don't know, but that's why I had to ask you yesterday. I was like, okay, well, when you see this back in your moment of clarity, well, I mean, like, what does this look and feel like to you? And you told me, and I was actually blown away by your answer, because, I don't know if you've read that comment, that my second comment, but it blew me away, because I was like, man, like, do you realize that you said a whole mouthful in just that little paragraph? Because the words that you said had, a whole nother dynamic behind it. So, like, I would ask you, I think that you would be more of a person that would be not even an expert, but have more of an ability to tell us the answer to your question versus us, because you were in somewhat of a situation to where you woke up one day and you said, you know what, this ain't right. What was it that was it within you that said it's not right?
That's what I'm trying to, bro. Like, okay, so Dre made a good point. And I've seen this with animal behavior. Animals instinct. I've seen instances where animals would save humans from situations. And he says it's in us. But Dre and anybody else, what is it? We keep talking about it. What is it? I need to know, somebody. I need to know. I understand that there's this instinct, there's this intuition, but if it's in us, who put it there? And why is it there? And why is it not in some people, but present in others? I need to know, somebody.
Well, maybe,
don't worry, I'm not going to Belize.
Maybe it is in all of us, but some listen and some don't.
But why? Why? Is God going around whispering in people's ears? Don't do that. I need to know, bro, because this is fascinating to me.
You know, listen, we could really jump down this rabbit hole and just really like go deep, but it makes, I don't know, because again, going back to me listening to you and Kendra, I heard her say something, and maybe it is in us, and some of us do listen, some of us don't, and some of us, we hear what we want to hear. Because I remember Kendra the other day when she was telling her story, she said she was outside and she was looking for a sign and she saw a rabbit and she made that her sign. And so, maybe the voice of God that is within us, some people are interpreting those things to be one thing, and when it's really another, and I have no idea. Again, I'm gonna tell you,
these comments
you have to take it up with your God.
Man, what?
close.
But what? I'm thinking, like, what if
My
we
bad,
just
y'all.
ain't never gonna know?
But that's okay.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, what if we just never gonna know, and that's just how it's gonna be? Like that. Like, what if I feel like human knowledge just has an inherent limitation, and what keeps our gears turning is the constant attempt to try to know something that we kind of inherently already know we'll never know. But it's kind of fun just trying to play with the different ideas. And it almost like it keeps us going.
But if you stop and you think about it, that's exactly what it is. I personally believe the us of yesteryears was a lot smarter than us of today. It's like, oh, okay, we've got all this technology and this, that, and the third. And I tell people, yeah, but that doesn't really make us smarter than, say, like ancient peoples. Because, yes, we have technologies and all these things, but these were all built off of things that they had already built. We're just reinventing the wheel. They actually invented it. So they had to be smarter to begin with all of these things, with a written language, with communication, with the math, the sciences. So we are just really spinning our wheels trying to get answers to something that they already had. They were smarter than we are now, because they took something and they made an original and we're just remixing.
Oh,
but
I got it. I just this question struck me. This statement struck me, right? For those of us, or those of you who believe in reincarnation and past lives and stuff like that, people always say the next life. But how do you know this isn't the next life? How do people know that this ain't? I can see rabbit hole. I can feel it. Rabbit hole beginning. That's enough, guys. I'm gonna stop it right there. I can feel it. I can feel rabbit hole being activated. No, I'm done. I'm glad you came up here. I'm glad. Thank you to everybody who participated, those who called in, those who engaged in the comment section. It's a lot of brilliant minds out there, and it's been a pleasure to engage with y'all. But I really got other stuff to do, and we got 10 minutes left, but I know this will keep going. But I will see you guys tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will just try to talk about my life prior to carbonation and answer some questions, just to have more relaxed vibe, so that it's not just a constant series of carbonation and cult topics, because that stuff can be very overwhelming. Like I haven't watched Zoka's video that the team made, but a lot of people were very emotional behind it. But I do plan on viewing it myself. But tonight I plan to take a more lighter approach, a more relaxed approach, so that we can get back into the co-understanding at a later time. But thank you. Let me see. What does it say? Miss Hollywood, thank you for coming up here. You brought some great perspectives, and everybody else who did as well. And I hope that we can continue to have these conversations on a regular basis. It's on you now, Miss Hollywood, if you want to say something.
Oh, all right, y'all. That's the end of the live. Oh, Lord, I'm so happy he ended the live and didn't come back. Because the thing about it is, y'all, and then, yes, it's dark because, again, I'm not dressed. But the thing of it is that I figure because Aaron, he has some really good lives, and they usually are very long, as you could see. And I was like, I'm gonna record this, then spend time editing. I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna do it live. But what I'm working on, guys, is I'm working on getting a better laptop. If y'all want to help out with that, hit my Cash App. It's all over my channel. But I'm trying to work on getting a new laptop, because if I get a new laptop, a better one, even if somebody out there has a laptop that they're not using, they want to donate it to me, let me know. I'm not opposed to that either. But I'm trying to get a laptop so that I could actually do StreamYard and restream more effectively. Okay? So definitely thank you guys for your continued support. Your continued support and mods. Thank y'all for being here early with me in the day. Lord, the work you guys do, the comments, the timeouts, all of that. Y'all got it on lock, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I'm out, y'all. I got editing to do. All right. Later.